The salt wind combed through Marcus's graying hair as he sat in the high white tower, scanning the glittering expanse of ocean. 6 summers on this stretch of sand and he could read the water like a map. The dark rips that pulled sideways, the sudden shallows, the deceptive calms that hit a pounding undertow. Today the beach teemed with families. Children shrieking in the foam, teenagers flexing on rented boards, the air thick with sunscreen, and the faint char of distant grills. He lifted his binoculars, not out of duty, but habit, and swept the line where swimmers bobbed in the turquoise shallows. Beyond the breakers, a single figure was drifting, not floating, drifting. Marcus's stomach tightened. He'd seen that listless movement before, a swimmer caught in a rip, panic draining their strength. The figure was being pulled outward, 100 yards and moving fast. Instinct kicked in before thought. He grabbed his rescue board, shouted at the junior guard to cover the tower, and sprinted down the wooden steps to the shore. The cool shock of water as he plunged in was bracing. He paddled with long, powerful strokes, the board slicing through the chop, his lungs filling with the rhythm of a man who'd spent half a lifetime fighting the sea. As he closed the distance, the figure resolved into a man broad-shouldered, thrashing weakly, mouth agape, gulping salt water. Marcus could hear the ragged gasps, the spluttering cough of a drowning man. He pushed harder, every muscle trained on one goal, get there before the next big set. Then he was 20 feet away, close enough to see the man's face, and time stopped. It was him, the man who had killed his wife. 3 years melted away in an instant, replaced by the screech of crumpling metal, the flashing blue lights, the hospital room where he'd held Lena's cold hand. The man in the water, his name was Frank Delaney, had been driving home from a bar on a rainy November night. His blood alcohol nearly tripled the legal limit. He'd run a red light at 60 miles an hour and T-boned Marcus's car on the passenger side. Lena died on impact. The courts gave Delaney 11 months in county jail for vehicular manslaughter, then probation. 11 months for a lifetime. Marcus had sat in that courtroom, fists clenched, and watched the man sob for the cameras and walk out with a sentence that felt like a slap across the face. Now here he was, in Marcus's water, drowning. Marcus's arms stopped paddling. He straddled the board, rising and falling with the swell, and for a long, frozen second, the roar of the sea went silent. He could see Delaney's eyes, wild, pleading, the same muddy brown he'd imagined so many times in his nightmares. The man didn't seem to recognize him. Survival had narrowed his world to the next breath. He reached a hand toward Marcus, fingers clawing at the foam. All I have to do, Marcus thought, is turn this board around. No one would ever know. He could paddle back, tell the beach patrol he was too late, that the current was too strong. A tragic drowning. The ocean was generous with its secrets. For 3 years, he had dreamed of this moment, of some cosmic scale balancing the unbearable weight. The drunk driver, the thief of mornings, the man who'd left his daughter without a mother, and him with a cavern in his chest where love used to live, was being offered up by the very tide. Justice, he thought bitterly. Real justice. He pictured Lena, the way she'd toss her dark braid over her shoulder when she laughed, the smell of jasmine in her hair, the way her hand would find his during long drives. And then he pictured the courtroom, the slick lawyer reading a statement about remorse, while Delaney's mother wept in the front row. 11 months. He'd spent more time than that fixing the porch Lena had always wanted. His grip tightened on the board. A voice inside him, raw and hungry, whispered, "Let him go. He took everything. You owe him nothing." But then a second image pushed through, sharp and unbidden. Not from the past, but from the beach behind him. His daughter, Maya, 16 years old, sitting on the checkered blanket where they'd eaten lunch an hour ago. She'd been quiet that morning, the anniversary always hanging between them. He'd seen her raise her own binoculars as he sprinted into the surf, tracking his every move. Maya, with her mother's exact brown eyes, who had cried herself to sleep for a year, who had asked him only once, voice small as a sparrow, "Dad, do you hate him?" She was watching. He could let Frank Delaney drown. He could satisfy the fury that lived coiled in his ribs like a second heartbeat. But Maya would know. She might not see the details from 100 yards out, but she'd see him pause. She'd see him turn back without the swimmer, and she'd spend the rest of her life wondering what her father had chosen in those silent seconds. She'd grow up believing that vengeance was not just a temptation but a right, that the people we hate are worth losing our souls over. She'd carry that seed of darkness, planted by the one man who was supposed to show her how to be human. The dilemma wasn't about Delaney. It was about the teenager on the sand, the girl who would one day face her own cruelties and cruelties done to her, who would remember this day and define herself by what she saw. He could give her a father consumed by revenge, or a father who, despite everything, could still pull a drowning man from the sea. Marcus's hand shot out and seized Delaney's wrist. The grip was iron, more violent than rescue required. He yanked the man onto the board with a strength born of something far hotter than duty. "Don't speak," Marcus growled, his voice cracking. "Just hold on." Delaney, coughing and weeping, clung to the board. He didn't recognize his savior. He kept mumbling thanks, prayers, promises to God. Marcus didn't answer. He paddled with every ounce of rage and love and grief he had, slicing toward the shore where the small brown-eyed girl stood barefoot at the water's edge, binoculars dangling from her neck. When his feet hit the sand, other guards rushed in to take the exhausted man. Paramedics wrapped Delaney in blankets, checking vitals. Marcus stepped back, dripping, breathing hard, and found Maya. She stared at him, eyes wet, not with tears of relief, but with a strange, luminous understanding. She'd seen the pause, she'd seen the choice. He didn't have to explain. "You saved him," she whispered. "I saved us," he said, and pulled her into his arms. Later, when Delaney had been cleared and loaded into an ambulance, his first clear sight of Marcus brought a horrified recognition that choked off any thanks. Marcus sat on the sand next to Maya. The sun was dipping low, staining the horizon tangerine and rose. "I wanted to let him die," he admitted, voice barely audible over the waves. "For a second, I really did." Maya leaned her head on his shoulder. "But you didn't." "No. Why?" He considered the question, watching a pelican skim the glassy surface. "Because I'm your dad," he said finally. "Because I need you to know that you can be hurt, deeply and unjustly, and still not become the thing that hurt you. That's the only power we really have." "I didn't save him for him. I saved him so you'd know that's possible." Maya was quiet for a long moment, tracing circles in the sand. Then she said, "Mom would have done the same thing." The words hit Marcus like a wave, cold and clean and devastating. He closed his eyes, and for the first time in 3 years, the image of Lena that came was not the still, silent figure in the hospital, but the woman who'd once jumped into a freezing pond to rescue a stranger's dog, who volunteered at shelters, who believed without irony in second chances. "Yeah," he said, his voice breaking beautifully. "She would have." The beach emptied slowly, families gathering their towels and umbrellas, leaving behind only the tireless gulls. Marcus and Maya stayed until the stars came out, a father and daughter on the edge of a vast and indifferent sea, having crossed, together, the deepest of moral currents. The rip had nearly swallowed 2 men that day. Only one had drowned, the version of Marcus that wanted to. And the girl on the blanket, who had watched her father choose mercy over vengeance, would grow up to know that love isn't just a feeling. It's a decision made in the middle of the ocean, with every reason to do otherwise, when no one's watching, except the person who matters most.